Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, and Dennis Dick here with you this morning. We are limit down again in the S&P Futures, so we'll talk about where that leaves us with regards to the open. And just same story every day is how do we approach this market, businesses that we should stay away from, what could be in trouble, what industries could be in danger of being taken over or nationalized by the government. We'll talk through all that. There are real concerns here because what was a good day yesterday has now been essentially wiped out here this morning. So we'll talk about that volatility and just, how to approach the market here. Joel, I know we're limit down, but just give us a quick something on what happened here in the overnight S&P.
Good morning to you and Dennis. Yeah. I think first we can kind of talk about the insane close that we had yesterday. And you guys know I like to look at things on different time frames. Your cash close, the equivalent when the stocks closed at 4 o'clock, your S&P futures were at 25.3175. 15 minutes later, the actual close was 24.8550. So you lost a cool 45 handles. And then your last after hours print, that was even lower than that, 24.74. We had a little pop. We got just barely above the close, and then it was just all selling, and we are locked limit down. We have over 7,000 contracts on the limit here. Spider, you're showing 3.7%, but because of that whacked 4 p.m. close, we're not down to full 5%. Spiders are down 5.3%, so kind of in line. Glut of oil on the market, folks, down 215 at 25.17. A lot of supply and not much demand. So, you know how to work that equation. Gold in the red here by $4, just bouncing around $15-22 area. Silver down, having a good day, only down 1.5 cents here at 14.80. Bitcoin just hang out. This is the Bitcoin futures, folks, hanging out at 5,090. 500-point range. They get as high as 54.75. Triple D on this Thursday, March 18th. Yep. How you doing?
I'm okay. You look at these markets and you think, wow, how much lower can it go? We are, and I've been saying it, this is the start of financial crisis part 2. We're in it. We're in the thick of, the second financial crisis here. It's not a matter of the virus anymore. It's a matter of the economic pause, companies not surviving that. And we're starting to see who's not going to survive in the charts. So, we have to allocate capital accordingly. I don't want any of these companies that are right in ground zero of this. I don't want the travel stocks. I don't want Boeing. Boeing had troubles before this started. People are saying, and they keep saying, they said to me, yesterday or 3 days ago, I started talking on the show when Boeing was $170. And I said I wouldn't touch it because if they nationalize this thing, it's going a lot lower. People have it and they don't understand how it works. They think, okay, yeah, the government's going to bail them out, so how do I lose it as a shareholder? They're not bailing out the shareholders. The credit holders are all there in line too. They just want to keep the company going. So they're bailing out the company, not the shareholders. So if they nationalize Boeing, it's not going to be worth $105 a share. Don't be surprised if it's worth $5 or $10 a share. Not joking. If they nationalize these things, that's what they did with Fannie and Freddie. They did it with a number of businesses in the financial crisis. What that means is the government basically comes in, cuts them a check, but takes a huge amount of shares. Maybe they're going to take 90% of the company to cut them this big check to keep them floating. Boeing first got to cut the dividend, and you got to start doing stuff before you're going to expect a big cut. So I would imagine they're going to cut the dividend first to zero. And then, you look into the situation, and can they survive on their own? It doesn't sound like it, with the balance sheet. They had troubles before all this coronavirus started because of the MAX. So when you look at it here, you think 105, oh wow, it's so cheap, how can I go wrong? Your only out is if this virus thing turns around on a dime, that we get a cure or vaccine tomorrow and the whole markets turn around and then everybody goes back to their business as usual. I think there's a very low probability of that happening. That's why I would not own Boeing at $105 a share, even though it looks ridiculously cheap, because if the government has to come in and cut a check, they are not going to bail out the shareholders. They're going to be bailing out the company. It's a big difference. And your shareholders will probably burn in that scenario.
I mean, Dennis, just look at this chart. So the max, the 737 max, the chaos happened about a year ago. It was like 50, 53, 54 weeks ago when that all started.
Yep.
And just look at this weekly. 53 weeks ago, Boeing was at $446. Today it's going to open under 100
or 105. It could very well open under 100 today. I think I've just given my scenario. I think this is my thought process, but I think they're going to nationalize Boeing. I think they're going to come in and cut them a big check and to take the majority of the companies, because the shareholder needs to get the U.S. taxpayer needs to get paid back. They can't just cut a check, hope for the best, and then move on. And pay us back when you're good, Boeing. No, we're going to cut you a check. We're taking a huge amount of your shares. Citi was the same thing. When they were doing the bailout, the government took a huge amount. And that's why obviously you look at Citigroup and you can say, oh, it came back. It never did. It was a 20-for-1 split. AIG was the same thing. These things never came back from the financial crisis, the prices of these stocks, because if you look at the all-time highs, go just for fun, because people think AIG came back when it got to $60 a share. It did not. What's the all-time high on AIG, Joel? Bring it up. Because it was a 20-for-1 reverse split in there. $2,058. That was in the financial crisis. You never, ever got your money back. Oh, that was in the dot-com?
Yeah, that was the
Is that right? No.
Yeah.
Well, they adjusted. I got 2066.72.
Okay. So in any regard here, you can see that the shareholders never did get their money back. So don't expect. I think Boeing's going the same way. This is my opinion. I could very well be wrong. The bullish scenario is the cure comes tomorrow. We start applying the cure. People all start getting better, and we go about our business, and everything goes back to normal. That's the bullish scenario. That scenario is highly unlikely that a cure is coming tomorrow, guys and girls. So we just have to be realistic here. That's why I'm not buying Boeing. I'm not buying any of the cruise lines. They all could be in the same story here, that they actually could go bankrupt. The airlines, I believe the major ones will be nationalized as well. I don't want to own them either for the same reasons. UAL is down 10% every single day. Even on an up day yesterday with the airlines, they were all down. That's telling you that there is major problems here. I believe that they might have to nationalize some of the airlines as well. Maybe some of the smaller carriers they let fail. So unless we turn around on a dime. So this is, this is these groups, and we've been saying to avoid these ones for a while. Casinos fall into that as well. I'm scared for the casinos because again, same story. Who's running back to even gamble at a casino if this thing turns around tomorrow? So, you look at MGM and you say, how can I go wrong at $8? I don't know. Look at the balance sheet. Can they pay their bills if they stay closed for 2-3 months or longer? And that's what we might be realistically looking at. They did close the casinos in Vegas last night. You've got to ask those questions. This is now just get your CFA hat on and start looking at balance sheets and seeing which companies survive. Just for fun, you can look at a company like Take-Two, TTWO. Look at the chart of Take-Two, Joel. We'll give you better scenarios. A gaming, you could say, oh, video games. People are still going to play video games. You know what else Take-Two? Doesn't have any debt. Look at the stock chart. Look how well it holds up. You're starting to see companies that have little or no debt very much outperform the other companies because they know credit gets tight, companies start to feel the pinch. You don't have debt, you can go for a long time. That's why Apple, yes, it has debt, but it has a lot of cash too. That's why Google, I've said, if you want to buy stocks, I'm buying none because I don't believe we've seen the bottom here yet. But if you want to, buy companies that are cash rich or have stronger balance sheets.
Dennis, just a quick question. I know we covered this on some of the previous shows regarding short selling, banning of short selling. I know in essence it is when you get these movements here. I know you have strong feelings on that, being the market structure expert. So could you talk about that briefly?
I mean, people are blaming shorts. To be honest, and a lot of smart people out there, this is not the shorts. This is not, the shorts. The shorts didn't create the virus. The shorts didn't create these fundamental problems in these companies. The shorts are actually trying to value these companies for what they're really worth. Boeing might be worth zero. It really might be worth zero right now in this environment. If we stay closed and the ground airline travel, which I believe is coming, you got to just look at the fundamentals here. This is not shorts driving stocks down and taking advantage. And I'm getting these calls, for the uptick rule. Let's reinstate the uptick rule. People are saying it. Jim Cramer was saying it the other day. Let's reinstate the uptick rule. They don't realize the uptick rule exists. They put the uptick, so they got rid of the uptick rule in 2006. In 2010, they brought back the alternative uptick rule. And when the alternative uptick rule applies, it applies when a stock falls 10%. Then it's under short sale restrictions. And what that does is it reinstates the uptick rule. So right now, Boeing, almost every single stock, even the SPY yesterday, was under short sale restriction. So it is already on the uptick rule. And the new rule is more stringent than the old rule, because on the new rule, you cannot hit any bid to get short, even if the bid is an uptick. In the old days, if the bid was an uptick, you could short the bid. You cannot do that. You have to get short on the offer. They will not let you hit a bid. I watched last night, some stocks like Alaska Air sit there flat. So the market's tanking 70 points. Alaska Air just sits there flat, and a pile of people on the offer, but there's no natural seller that came in. So if somebody would have owned the stock, it would have been a nice sale last night on Alaska Air, but you couldn't short the stock. So it was like bid 32.45 all night for 3 hours straight. It was bid 32.45 as the market's imploding. But there's no person that actually owns Alaska Air that came around and sold it. So everybody was trying to short it. All the ARBs are trying to price it to where it should be, which is much lower because the market just fell, but it's not allowed to go lower because a short cannot hit a bid. So all it led to was an inefficient price last night for 3 hours straight. So stop calling for the uptick rule. Gentlemen, it already exists. Jim Cramer, you've called for it a million times. It already exists. They put it back in 2010. So it's silly talk to try to reinstate a rule that we already reinstated. So it's just people not paying attention. Normally it doesn't apply because normally we're not getting 10% swings, but they put it in. Excellent, that they put it in for these types of markets. They put it in there because if we got into volatile times, they didn't want bear rates. Well, you know what? You can't get them now. There's no way they can just keep hitting a bid, the shorts. They're not allowed to do it. And there's no workarounds even. So, it's amazing, that the rule is very efficient. Alaska Air sat there with a bid for 3 hours last night. If any regulators are listening to it, I guess it did its job. But you did create an inefficient price in Alaska Air last night. And there was a number of stocks that was the same thing. So the uptick rule is already in existence, folks.
All right, 2 minutes before we're going to hear from our guest today, Fari Homsi from Hamzei Analytics. He'll be on with us at 8:15 here. In the meantime, Dennis, based on what we've seen from previous days where we've been limited down in the futures, and we know there's no such mechanism for the SPY in the pre-market, what is in store for us at the open here?
Well, we're down 5.97%, so we know exactly where we're pricing. A nice tidy. Thank your high frequency. People want to blame high frequency trading. They're making this market for you. So, yes, some high frequency trading. I've even written articles about some of the predatory practices of some firms. But, for the most part, HFT is not the boogeyman here. It's making markets. All of your firms like Virtue Financial are market making firms. They're sitting out there bid and offer. Yes, they don't have the obligations they used to. I kind of like the structure back that it was before, but it doesn't exist anymore. We went to electronic trading. Everything changed. So you can't worry about that. But right now, SPY has a 4-cent market. 237.51. It's moving around to 237.54. So we're down 6%. So we know where the market is. We don't have to guess. We don't have to say, oh, we're limit down. Where are we going to open? Well, we don't know where we're going to open because we're still an hour and 15 minutes away. I can tell you at 8:14:37, we are down 6.05% on the S&P. It exactly is correct. And we were locked 50 bid 237.50, 237.50 offer right there for a split second. So unbelievable, that it's that efficient and working this well. Props to the exchanges that the market has worked flawlessly through all of this. So exchanges, if any of you guys are listening, good job. The markets have performed very, very well. We don't like the values that they're putting on stocks, but at the same time, those values are probably correct.
All right, 8:15, as promised, let me bring on our guest here, Fari Homsi from Hamzei Analytics. Fari, and I want to start you off here. as I bring him on, just 1 second. There we go. I think Fari should be joining us here. Fari, whenever it is that you are enabled here by Zoom to speak to us, can you tell us what is the sentiment like down where you are in Florida? Because we saw a few days ago that beaches were still crowded.
Can you hear me first?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Good morning, guys. Good morning. The sentiment down here is.
That was my fault. I'm moving Fari around here on the Zoom.
Oh, we lost Fari.
No, he's here. Fari's here. Fari, I hear you again. Sorry about that. That was on.
No worries. Okay. Yep. The symptom I get from the small sample points because I'm basically have put myself in a self quarantine. I have psoriasis. I'm over 60. Therefore, I'm in a high risk category. I'm 62. So, what my attitude is, hunker down, plenty of food. I have a compound near me. It's a friend of mine. We hung there in Irma, Genrex, and everything. We're not going to trade, but at least we're going to survive. The pantry is bigger than my condo here, full of food. We're ready to go. Water is my problem right now. Why my fear? Okay, I'm going to take the gloves off. Okay, is a cyber attack. Why?
Fari.
Yeah, he's saying his fear is a cyber attack. His fear is a cyber.
On the water, on the electrical system. We all get shit when we're on our knees.
Fari.
No, he's just saying that's his fear. He's not saying it's imminent.
All right. Okay. All right.
Why do you think? Why
that's
do you?
What you're afraid of. That's what you're afraid of.
You think the terrorists are going to be active now in this environment? Like this is the kind of environment that they're going to attack us because we're down.
We had one the other day that we're trying to get into health systems. My fear is not the health system. My fear is the electrical grid.
I mean, electrical grid, and that's a scary story.
I think there's enough to be afraid of.
We don't want to worry about the electrical grid right now.
Sorry.
Remember, but I was paid to think what if. I'm Gorman.
Okay. What do you think about these markets here? And obviously, we're breaking down again. What are your thoughts on the overall market?
These are bear market rallies. 14.8 is the first stop. That's a 50% pullback from the all-time high on as early as February 12th. I've said all over Twitter, 14.8, 14,800. That
14,800 in the Dow?
Yes, 14.8. Yes.
So you think we could go down another 7,000 Dow points?
And this was financial.
You thought I was bearish, guys. This guy's saying we could go down 7,000 points. They're yelling at me for being too bearish.
Fari.
1,700 on the Dow. Listen, when I shorted it,
you know what? I'm not gonna say it can't happen.
14, 15. Nobody said what they said. What are you talking about? And for a week, I ate crow. Look where we are now. These are bear market rallies. I was long yesterday, went short again. I've been doing this longs only one day only and staying on short for a long time. These are bear market rallies. If you are a student of the markets, this is what you're going to do. Otherwise, you'll be sorry at the end. Listen, you know what the bottom is? When the Trumpkins throw in the towel. When the Trumpkins said, I've had it. I got a friend of mine, he's down 3 mil. He can't speak. He still is with Trump. We'll see. When he throws in the towel, that's the bottom. That's how you read sentiment.
How, Fari, and I'm concerned here just on the virus front. You sound like you're concerned here too. Are you leaving the home at all, or you're now where you are?
No, last outing was Valentine's Day, and she was very cute.
You haven't left the home since Valentine's Day?
You haven't left your house since Valentine's Day?
Yeah. Holy, this guy's way ahead of this. Way further than me. I haven't left it 6 days, but...
Sorry.
Amazon. You have Amazon. What are you guys thinking about?
What do you do with the Amazon packages? Do you spray them down with bleach?
No, but they're sitting in the sun for a while.
I say, you leave her in the sun.
But I have gloves.
Cook that thing. Yeah, but you have the privilege of seeing the sun. In Detroit, we don't see the sun at this time of year. So I got to use bleach. Fari, so are you looking at...
he got it from his desk. I don't know where. Okay.
No, I didn't walk away. No.
Okay.
The mask, senor.
Sorry. Okay.
Hey, he's got it. No, we want to see his mask. It's a good one.
Yeah. This is
okay. That's a good mask.
Yeah. Seal. You have to have seal like aircraft pilots. And
yeah.
And you have filters for it extra. And here's a goggle for it.
All right. I'm not questioning your preparedness. You're clearly very prepared here.
Let's talk.
Understood the strategic planning at Northrop. It's all about what ifs. You better be ready. I'm sorry. I was in Irma where you couldn't get gas.
Fari, I'm a little bit. I've said this a couple of times, and I'm somewhat concerned about the financial system now. I've said that we are in. I've said it this morning. We are in financial crisis part 2.
We are
going to see a number of companies fail.
Here's
Are the banks safe now? Did we do enough with Dodd-Frank? Are the banks going to get through this okay?
Banks are in better shape, but this is a health issue. Dennis, what we're going to see, wait until the earning warning starts coming in. That's a CYA routine. They're going to cover their ass. 2, look at the non-farm payrolls. We're going to hit over 1 million layoffs. My own sister runs 700 hotel. She's already let go 15% last week. She doesn't know what she's going to get let go this Friday. They're all vacant. The hotels are bankrupt. She's raising money from the partners for the different hotels because she's worried about in 3 months they may have to get an NOD, notice of default.
So how worried about you about any of those types of travel, tourism, hotel, cruise line, airline?
Here, everything is shut down. We shut down the bars and restaurants last night.
Right.
Bars and nightclubs. Restaurants will be takeout only. Shortly. I think that's the next news here. You cannot get together. When it says 10 or more, that shuts down everything. You can't even have offices. Major corporations have to send you all home. You can't have offices. And what's going to happen? Are people going to pay rent? What's going to happen to real estate?
Right. Okay. Right. So
and what's going to happen to the banks who hold the mortgages for the real estate?
Right.
There's some ugly scenarios here, and I've been kind of giving some of those ugly scenarios. What's the good scenario? How do we get out of this?
My question.
So how do we get out? How do we get out? Like, let's forget about the markets for a bit. How do we get out of this?
Here, I have different guys that I work with. Some of them are small individual investors. Some of them are professionals. Some of the professional investors are biotech guys. You know who works for biotech guys? I mean, which company they invest in? They invest in guys, a bunch of PhDs and doctors. So they're science driven. So I went to them back in January. And I thought I had something. I was just chit-chatting. They said, what are you worried about? You got nothing. Check this out. Okay, I won't get into more detail of that. Because that took me about a month, but that's what I started. I have to short this market. We won't get into detail, but here's my point. They are saying until we have a vaccine, there's no bottom. Because nobody's going to go out there.
That's what I think. There's some consensus there that the only thing that will take us higher is a dramatic slowdown in new cases or some sort of a vaccine, one or the other.
The new cases will be great news, but I will still not get on the airplane. I will not go to a hotel. That's my opinion.
What's going to happen to the airlines? Are they going to now have to nationalize all these things? Are these airlines worthless? Question. Do you think the airlines have value here? Like, I mean, I look at UAL, and I don't know the answer to this. But at $90, it's $30. It's basically down 60% in 2 months.
Let me ask you this: do you think we have a martial law?
No, Fari. No, I don't think.
We found
Fari. Holy cow!
How much you guys on record?
No, I don't think that. I think we need a quarantine. I think we need a quarantine. I've thought that for
we do need a quarantine. Mandatory quarantine.
Yeah. No, I think we need a quarantine. I'm amazed they haven't shut down the skies yet, but I don't think we're going to go that far, Fari.
Well, it depends. What do you think? Where's coronavirus today? Let's see. The data, I think, was 6,000 last night.
And how many real cases do you think are out there, Fari? Like, because they're not they haven't been testing. How many people are walking around with this that don't know they have it?
I don't know.
Hundreds of thousands?
A lot.
Oh, at least.
A lot. Millions? Millions? Potentially.
Remember, we waited 3 months.
Yeah, we waited too long.
Yeah.
We waited too long. Somebody's got to answer for this. I want full hearings. And not now, because he's going to block them after the election. I want full hearings after the election.
I don't know how that's a very idealistic thing to want. I don't know if we're going to get that.
Listen, Spencer, were you born here? Were you born here?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a citizen by default. I'm a citizen by choice.
Right.
I read the Constitution. I want to come here. It's not why 40 years ago. This is not the same country. You've experienced other types of governments where I haven't. So exactly.
You have a different perspective than me.
I chose this is the better one. I came here, put my life into it.
You chose wrong. You chose wrong, Fari.
I mean.
You chose wrong about that one. I don't know if we have the better.
Of course. Back then it was good. Listen, when I came here, I landed in the diplomatic section of Dulles International. I had 2 officers from the Pentagon greet me. Different ballgame. Okay? Now look what it is.
Different ballgame now.
My dad was a diplomat. That was a different environment. Well, look at it now. It just, every time they something knocked on my door, I opened it. I took the opportunity. I worked my ass off. I put myself through Princeton by working. I had no loans when I got out.
All right.
Look where it
Okay.
is
So
now.
Fari, so real quick. So like, how are you positioned right now? Tell us about your
We're
positioning.
We're just doing index only, NQs trading during the day, including if it goes against our core position, which is the spreads on the put spreads on the SP. I know the correlation is not exact, but it's 99.7, 90, 8.5, whatever it's that area.
So you're short the indexes on a daily basis. You're short them
Yeah,
outright,
I
or
mean, right now I'm flat. I'm coming in flat right now. I'm
Okay.
not touching anything. But my call last night was, I think you guys get it.
I saw you tweet. You said to sell.
I'm
Sell a rally.
for free. I've shared that with the market. I put it on LinkedIn, I put it on Facebook, on Twitter. Why? I think it's a national emergency. I gotta give something back. I'm privileged where I am. Okay. Have you looked at my as of last night? Hold on. If you look at my performance, that you sit there and say, what? And yeah, it is true. Where is this? There we go. Can I share a chart here?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay.
sure, Fari.
Where do I put it? How do I bring it in? Share. Share.
Yep. Sure.
Okay. There you go.
What the hell? Why not?
There you go. You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Look when I start shorting. Look where
Okay. So
All right. Let me hop in. Let me hop in here.
Hey, Joel. How are you, sir?
There we go, Joel.
Fari, you obviously didn't get my email.
What did it say?
It said, "Can you say something positive?"
Well, you sound like Fox. You just joined Fox now? What did he say?
Is there something positive?
Come on, Fari.
Is there something?
Come on, buddy. Help us out.
I can find something positive, and I've been a bear around here too.
Positive. Hold on. People are.
You're making Dennis look like a screaming bull. So come on,
I know,
Fari.
he really is.
Come on, buddy.
People have been talking
Do it. I need you, Fari. Fari, I need you.
Okay.
I need you.
Give us something positive.
Stop. Let me talk. We only have 15 minutes. All right. No problem. Let me respond to you. The positive thing is people are following instructions. Okay. It's very uniform. You see that people are not panicking. There's not much on the shelves, but not really going crazy panicking. It's not like Irma, where people putting, at least I haven't heard of anybody putting guns. So they're following. They understand there's a reason bars and nightclubs. Remember, this is Florida. This is the fourth largest net worth per capita. Okay, fourth largest. Every other car is a Lamborghini. They're saying, you know what? Okay, we stand down. We slow down a little bit here. We understand at least the science part, not say the political part, but the science part. That here we've got to follow some instructions here, and maybe we can ride this through. That's a good thing. Okay, we don't see like water is everywhere. Costco every day is replenishing. We got our basics. We wanted to put it in the compound. As I said, the pantry is like half of my condo. It's all packed, ready to go. We could be there 2-3 months. We don't know how long it's going to go, but generally people are not. They're not crying. Let me put it this way: at Irma, people were very upset, but that was a win. That was nature's attack. This is another nature, but this.
Okay, Fari. One more before we let you go. When do you think we could possibly get out of this situation?
I have no idea. Anybody tells you run, don't walk. I don't know.
Yeah.
All
right. I mean, that's fair.
You have to observe it. We have to observe it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is fair. These are unique times, to say the least. Fari Homsi has joined us from Hamzei Analytics. Fari, thanks so much as always.
I didn't disturb anybody, but I gotta speak my mind.
Hey, that's why.
My actions show that.
You know what, Fari, I'm with you. I don't know if I think it's saying 7,000 more Dow points, but it's possible. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't know where this.
You get a little bit on the side.
And I feel bad. There's people who are on margin right now.
Yes.
And who are margin long because they've been, rewarded for buying the dip.
Exactly.
And it's these people that I'm very scared for right now. I mean, if you're sitting with cash or you're not on margin, maybe you can ride this out from a financial perspective. But if you're on margin here, I think you got to try to get out in any rally because you don't want to be on margin.
One more thing here, right there, to follow up with you, Dennis. Watch the gold. Okay, the gold is being sold.
Everything is being sold.
No, it's margin calls. They're selling those.
That's what it is. You're right.
To save your apple. And guess what? 3 days over is another bend over. Grab your ankles routine. That apple is in a margin call too. This is not going to stop.
It's a plausible idea. Yeah.
Do you have a mask for Captain Tico?
No, but it's, first of all, sir, is Vice Admiral Tico. He
I'm
got
sorry.
promoted. He got a
Vice
recent
Admiral, he
appointment
got
from-
promoted.
Yeah, he got promoted last December. He got a recent appointment from Trump because Moscow Mitch wouldn't have any Senate hearings. All flag officers have to go to Senate hearings. We got the tickets. We were ready to go. Moscow Mitch was busy.
All right. So you don't have a mask for Vice Admiral TK?
No, we don't. But he's got his own
Okay.
compound there.
He's got his own stuff. All right.
But you know what
Fari-
happened? They sent the alligator here. We have
Did
an
he
alligator
stock up on dog
So
food?
some people think it's Trump because Trump
Yeah.
just found out that Tico has been short the market.
Right. All right. Thanks a lot, Fari. Be safe out there, and I guess
I'm
or be safe
scared
in
now.
there. I guess.
All right,
I'm more scared now.
all
Thanks,
right.
Fari.
Yeah, that didn't do a lot.
It
for my
didn't do
confidence
anything
either.
to calm my fears.
No,
To be honest
no.
with you, I'm not that. I'm in a good headspace. Like I'm not like,
Yeah.
we're a zombie apocalypse. I've never been there. I've accepted the fact that I believe that there is going to be a lot of corporate bankruptcies coming here in the next couple of months. I believe there are going to be sectors that are obviously going to stay weak and get weaker. I believe the overall market, I still believe it's going to go lower as well because I don't see us in like the 8th or 9th inning of this thing. I see us still in the early innings of this thing. I mean, they haven't even quarantined us yet. What are people doing once you're quarantined from your house? They're going out and buying stocks. I mean, people are going to be really spooked. So it's hard to just, I still say sell the rips. I'm not buying dips, but I am selling rips. And, every time we got a rally yesterday, and we did get it again yesterday, it was another selling opportunity, and the shorts are rewarded almost immediately. So from a market's perspective, it's hard to say, I'm going to come in and buy this thing. From an investor standpoint, if you've been sitting with 100% cash and you want to put something to work, I'm going to say it again. I've said it like 3 or 4 times. Don't go to the Boeings. Don't go to those companies. Is my opinion, because I think those companies could go substantially lower, especially if they need to get nationalized. I would go to companies that have stronger balance sheets, stronger companies that don't have a lot of debt. Those are the companies that are going to turn around and thrive. You are seeing people flee into companies like General Mills here. And let's talk about the food stock rally because it was just insanity. I mean, General Mills is going up because everybody's going to be ordering food and eating from home and obviously make a lot of canned goods. So you think, Campbell's Soup, same story. The moves in those were insanity yesterday. I don't believe that these things are like, the screen buys. We're going to see General Mills at $100. This is now a coronavirus stock is what it's being traded as. And, yes, it had earnings here this morning, which we can talk about as well. But I think, if you're buying these things, these are the companies that got to own. This is not where, this is a trade. If you're in these things, it's a trade, a coronavirus trade. Because when they start to turn around, is General Mills worth 10% more than it was the day before because of coronavirus? I don't think so.
Hey, Dennis, quick question here from a tactical standpoint. We have a lot of our listeners trade the option markets.
Yep.
And in the event that they do close the markets for a period of time,
yes.
And let's say you own some weeklies.
Not out of the question. Not out of the question.
Not out of the question at all. On the table.
It's on the table.
It's on the table.
So let's say you have some weeklies that expire on Friday and the market closes for a week.
Market closes on Thursday, and your weeklies, it goes past your weekly prices.
Yes.
Okay, this is, there's not a lot of history for this, but I did go to the CME website and try to interpret the language on this because I was getting this question. And to my understanding is all the option expirations would extend to the opening print of the next day that the markets are open. So say this is my understanding, I might not be correct, but this is my understanding interpretation of the language. So you have the weeklies, so you have the Friday, March 20th. Let's say we theoretically, and we'll do an extreme example just to get our point across. So let's say you have the March 20 weekly puts on SPY at 230 or 240, and the markets close tomorrow indefinitely. Let's say they close until like May 1st. They keep them closed for 2 months. It's an extreme situation. Do your puts, people are saying, do your puts expire worthless? Or, what happens with those, because they didn't have a chance, they weren't open those days. To my understanding, your expiration date would be extended to the opening print of the next business day. And that is where the exercise price would look at. So SPY opens on May the 1st at 200. Your 237 March 19 puts would be worth $37 in theoretical value at that point in time. So that is to my understanding on how it would work. So they don't just get screwed because the market's closed down. Those expiration dates extend to the opening print on the indice or whatever instrument you have. If you have it on General Motors, be the 930 print on the next business day that we open, even if it's 2 months from now or 6 months from now or 2 weeks from now. That's how I understand it. If anybody in the chat read it differently, let me know. We haven't seen stuff like this happen. We haven't had weeklies, Joel, when we had the 911 closure back, on January or back in 2001. So I haven't seen a lot of this in action, but my interpretation of the language is that the expiration date extends to the next open market opening print on the next market day that it's actually open.
And I know I said the week Dennis was out, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said maybe they should, I told you, well, maybe they should close the markets. I've reversed. I don't think that would be a good idea anymore. I think
and I actually had if you
ad.
wanted to post it, I had a Reuters reporter call me there yesterday, and just talking about this, and I actually was in my quote my quote got in there. Joel wouldn't love this, but they were talking about, he was asking, do you think the market's going to close? And I said, I don't know. I wouldn't want them to close. But then he was talking about, Mnuchin talked about maybe shortening the trading hours. And I was like, well, I don't really want them to do anything. I think they should just keep it as it's going. What I did say was, I said, if you want to start shortening trading hours, the only hours I would maybe short, you get a lot of volatility in the E-mini at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, because it's really thin. I mean, if you were going to short hours, I would maybe go there first. I said this and I got published in New York Post, and you can Google me and you can see my quote on it. But that was what my thought process was, is you have a lot of crazy volatility. We know we go to bed and then it gets really whipsawed at night off the international markets and stuff. And it's less liquid then too. So you get some extreme moves. But I think everything is operating really good. So I don't want anything. And my choice is not to shorten hours. But Mnuchin said it in that press conference yesterday, and the media is jumping on it. What does he mean, shortening hours? I don't think you should shorten like the regular trading hours at all. I don't know if the pre-market and the after hours makes any difference, but you have a 24-hour market on the E-mini. Maybe look there, but to clarify, I don't want, and I said this and it was published like that, I don't want any, I think the markets are functioning perfectly as they are, so I don't want them to shorten any hours whatsoever. That's my opinion.
I had a thought and now I've forgotten
Yeah,
what it was. But I want to go back.
I don't see how that helps. How's that help the problem?
No,
by
it
shortening the hours.
No,
What's that?
No.
Give traders a break? Because we're trading 20. I'd get more sleep. I'm worried about the markets 24 hours a day. The only time I'm getting sleep is on the weekend right now. So it'd be good for my health.
I think it would make some people feel better, but it would make other people a lot more fearful, because now what happens if you can't? Someone in the chat brought this up. You can't access your retirement. You can't buy
really
anything.
Hard. Exactly.
Can't sell anything in your retirement accounts.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know.
Really tough.
I don't know what that would do. And for people of my age, it would cut off what could end up being the opportunity of a lifetime to buy here, when all is said and done. And going back to what we were saying after Fari, how Fari was very very bearish. As far as her mindset, I find myself going back and forth here, where I am either very serious. This is a very serious situation, and I find myself getting almost offended at anyone who's making jokes, and then I ping pong the other direction, where I cannot help but try to make light of this situation, because what else can you do? There is nothing else to be done except stay in your home and lob some jokes out there, because you got to do what you got to do to make yourself feel better, right?
Well, so a little bit of that, yeah.
Right. So I found.
Go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I mean, I find myself just going back and forth between those two extreme mindsets. This is not a time for levity and for jokes, and yet also I need to make myself feel better.
Make light of the situation.
That's why I have these signs. I mean, the sign behind me says this is fine, and the house is on fire. I mean, I think that's funny right now.
I mean, it's true. I mean, you got to have some, make light of some situations. The one issue that I have, and I have a major issue with this, is somebody posted a joke on a video on Facebook, and it went kind of viral. And somebody is literally drinking a drink in the bar, and they said, I heard that if you get your alcohol content in your body up to 70%, that nothing can live in there. So I'm going to sit in this bar and drink.
There will be idiots.
I mean, that message went viral and people are laughing. Yeah, I'm going to go to the bar and drink too. It's a bad message to send. You do not want to be going out here right now. You are not only hurting yourself, you are hurting other people. I want to keep stressing this message of we need to contain this. We need to try to slow down, flatten the curve, whatever you say. You need to stay in your homes right now. If it is all possible. I know we haven't went under a mandatory quarantine yet, and we could talk about that. I believe it is necessary. I believe it is necessary, and the government needs to make that step. They need to have the guts to make that call, because too many people are going to end up getting sick by not just going out and going about their business. People are going to work, going about their business, and some people have to work. We know that. But there are some businesses, where, they can shut it down. My buddy's got my buddy who I talked to has his own, he's a mechanic and he's got his own shop. I've talked to him, extensively, and I was like, you're not safe to be in your shop anymore. You've got enough money, close your shop for a bit. He took my advice. He put a sign on the door and said, due to the coronavirus, we are, closed indefinitely. Sorry to the customers, da-da-da. Smart move, because it keeps everybody safe. Do you need to have your car fixed right now? We shouldn't even really need cars at this moment in time. We shouldn't be going places. I mean, we need to go under mandatory quarantine. Yes, we need cars to get to the hospital. Yes, we need cars to get to the grocery stores. But if you're going about your business and you're drinking in a bar right now, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. It's one thing, the nurses need to get, we need those. We need our hospitals open. We need our grocery stores open. We need our pharmacies open. I'm sorry, you want to keep the economy going. The economy is not the important thing right now. Saving lives is. The economy will come back. Those lost lives will not. So we need to stay home if at all possible.
And to everyone who thinks the world is ending, I mean,
it's not ending.
It's not ending. You either, there is no alternative to thinking the world is not going to end. We will get through this.
We will.
It's just a question of how long and how painful, but we will get through this. And so I have no choice but to think that things will be okay, because what else am I going to think? That the world's going to end in 6 months? It's not realistic. So
and again, I'm going to clarify people saying, how many pandemics have you lived? How do you pay their bills? You have to leave the house. I'm saying, if possible, listen to my words, if possible, stay in your home. If you have to work, you have to work. If your employer is saying you have to come to work, but for you employers out there, if you can help your employees right now by sending them home or letting them work from home, allow that to happen. So obviously some people have to go and do their things, and I'm not talking about you, but this person sitting and drinking in a bar right now and thinking he's making a funny video is part of the problem. That's not funny. That's serious. It's serious. And you're spreading a message. And then you got the YOLO people who are going on and they're partying on the beaches. Somebody said in our chat, the beaches are full. That is part of the problem right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the people that have to go to work. I'm not pointing the finger at you. So I want to clarify that. I'm talking about I'm saying, if at all possible, stay in your home, please.
All right. I want to bring it back to some stocks here. We briefly touched on the rally in food stocks and General Mills, who had earnings out this morning. Not a great time to reporting anything, but General Mills did report okay numbers. Their sales were light, but they said obviously that their earnings for the year, their sales will be up for the year, their EPS will be up for the year. This is all predictable, as we've seen people flood to stores in the past few weeks. So not a surprise that General Mills would say that. I hadn't looked at the chart since the start of the show, so I don't know what the stock is doing.
It's down a bit in the pre-market. It really got the coronavirus spike yesterday. People are thinking that these are the stocks you got to own, the canned food makers. So I would not be surprised if it gets a lift here again. Again, these would just be trades. I do not want to invest in General Mills up at highs here, because this too will pass. We will get through this, and these canned food companies are still just canned food companies, obviously. But I would not be surprised if it catches a bit again, for the simple reason that investors are hot for anything that they think is to do with coronavirus right now.
I mean, you had a big old rally in this thing. Showed some excellent relative strength. I believe that was on Monday. Didn't make a new low for the move. Pulled back. I mean, I think a good number on a day like this. See what happens if it gets back to scratch. See if it gets back to the close, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to get out on the mark on that one. So keep an eye on that. Yesterday's low, we haven't sniffed that yet, but just be aware. Yesterday's low came in at 52.93, so that's a long ways away. Their closing price was 59.67. Spencer, do we have any earnings stocks to discuss besides General Mills?
General Mills was on the list here. There were a couple others, but the laptop that I'm not running the show on right now just sort of conked out as far as internet is concerned. So I can't even access my list of stocks that we're reporting. But there was a few others today. I had them written down, and now the page won't load, so I apologize. Maybe Dennis knows off the
What
top of his head,
about
but
there was let's try and get some more positivity in here. We did
there's
have
every day there's developments on these drugs.
yeah, so let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Let's
so
talk-
someone asked us in the chat yesterday to look at mRNA, which is one we've discussed, but haven't talked about this really all week. But mRNA is one of these vaccine plays, and let's pull up the chart here if I can and look at that, because somebody asked us about that one yesterday. We weren't able to get to it.
I mean, all of these plays have held up well. Again, these, once, somebody comes out and once we start get past this, could these things go? I mean, they could. These things could go again. These things can go anywhere. I mean, you look at, some of these other ones, have actually, some of the coronavirus plays that kind of, look like they died off are starting to show a little bit of life here again. Some of the vaccine plays, NVAX, I believe, is that a vaccine play, Spencer? Because I had a pretty good day yesterday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Moderna. I don't have the whole list of all the vaccine plays anymore, but I know Regeneron seems to be the leader here now. Regeneron is up every day. I mean, it's making new highs, and this is because they're not only on the vaccine front, they've got a drug that's starting to actually help with it now too. Like, it's not a cure, but another drug, that's helping it along. So Regeneron's making new highs on the move too.
It seems
Gilead,
like
same story. It's held up well because of the potential for the vaccine play here. And
it
they
seems
have a
like
drug that's working.
It seems like the biggest vaccine players were Regeneron, Gilead, Roche. Don't forget Roche. They're also in this game. RHHBY, I believe, is the ticker.
Also, Johnson & Johnson. Did they have some positive news? I was watching.
Problem is Johnson & Johnson. You know what? We talk about these consumer staples, Joel. Talk about they've really held up well.
Yeah. I just want one that we talked about earlier in the week, and I think you mentioned it there. BNTX is adding another $20.52 this morning.
Coronavirus play.
Yep, that's the good news. The bad news is this puppy printed 114.65. So if you want to target an ultimate target there, I think some people, now you've pulled back $25 off the high. I think now, you can look at your numbers or your targets, but you do have some trap buyers here over $90. So don't know if you're going to get back up to that pre-market high 114.65, but at least that's where we printed. Johnson & Johnson, that had some news yesterday. I was actually watching CNBC, a big rally, giving some of that back today. I mean, that stock is still within striking distance of its all-time high. Johnson & Johnson made all-time high over 150. You're trading here at 136. That's held up pretty well.
Procter & Gamble, Clorox has gotten silly. This has gotten silly. Coronavirus play. Long-term investors, eventually Clorox will just, but right now it's like bleach. We need bleach. Kill everything. Clorox has gone silly here too. So these are gifts for long-term investors. I don't know if I want to be short them, because when they go into rocket ship mode here like this, they can do anything. People are scared. So Clorox is getting a lift. Procter & Gamble does sell some cleaning products. So get a little bit of a lift, because they've held up very, very well. I mean, Procter & Gamble's within $7 of its all-time highs too. If we start to get really ugly, they'll start to hit everything. They'll start to hit these stocks again too. So I would not be coming in and buying these stocks at these prices, but I mean, they're working.
Hey, Dennis, what about the rally yesterday in utilities? XLU led us for the day.
Huge moves. And, maybe they were oversold. I mean, the utility companies all going out of business. I hope not. But at the same time, they're levered businesses too. So, that's been a concern as well. They're deleveraging everything. It's down here this morning. The utility stocks, once we start pulling out of this, utility stocks is going to be an opportunity here, because you got like such low rates environments that people are going to be looking, for opportunities. These are stocks that I would look at once we start to look like we have some light at the end of the tunnel here. I just don't see, when we're making new lows on the move here. I mean, I don't want to own stocks. So that's just what it is. I don't want to own anything right now. But again, get your shopping list ready. Like I've talked about Qualcomm too, although I'm going to have to go look at Qualcomm's balance sheet and see how much debt they have. Like the chips we've been in a chip wreck here, Joel. The chips are still needed. Chips aren't going away. I mean, Micron's back to where it was. A month later, after making new highs on the move there, Micron's right back down to these lows that we saw. I mean, these stocks, some of these are going to be a buy. I'd go look and, maybe I'll do that this weekend when I get a chance to actually sit down, put my CFA hat on for a few minutes and start to look at,
where's your CFA hat? Does it say CFA on it?
I should have got a CFA hat when I graduated back in 2000. They should give me a hat. 2002, I think I was when I got the CFA charter.
Did they give you a T-shirt or anything, a mug, something?
I might have a CFA mug somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
I got a nice clock from when I served on the Capital Markets Policy Council there.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So chips, Micron, Qualcomm. I was looking at some cyber
I like
names
those stocks.
yesterday.
Eventually, I do like these stocks.
Yeah.
Qualcomm, I think you might get a shot at Qualcomm at $50 again.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an outside chance. 63 here now. The 5G cycle going. That 50 was huge. I might nibble on some Qualcomm in my retirement account at 50, but I got to go look at that balance sheet. Right now, I'm worried about balance sheets. So,
Dennis, you're a champ, man. You're actually like looking and talking about it. So, hopefully,
buying stocks.
Yeah.
Not buying it. I haven't bought anything in so truth be said, I have not bought one stock in my retirement account in I don't know, in a while. The only stock was Gilead, but then I got spooked out. Like I was trying to do some of those coronavirus plays. So I've done, but in my long-term retirement account, I haven't bought anything. Nothing yet. Not a stock. So, and like I said, I raised a bunch of cash back in February. We know I talked about the show, back then when I did it. I haven't put any of that money to work. I do intend to put some of that money to work here eventually, because I do believe we're going to come out of this. So are we going to Dow 14,000 like Fari thinks? It's possible. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to get that ugly. But, who knows? If companies start going, bankrupt here, there's definitely going to be some stocks that go to zero. The home builders too, we haven't talked about, Joel. I mean, look at the home builders. This is incredible. In a zero rate interest rate environment, you think it can be better for them, but who's building a home now? And, they probably got a lot of leverage. I haven't looked at the balance sheets, but the market's saying there's problems. I mean, KB Homes was $40 in February 21. And here we are a month later, and KB Homes is $13. Toll Brothers, same story. $15 from almost 50. Lennar, $70 down to 34. And he's talking about stocks that are down 60, 70%, some of these. So there's definitely some issues. There's definitely some issues here happening as well. And I think the real estate market's obviously going to take a major hit from this too. Like, you think you're in real estate, you're safe, but with this kind of money lost, people are going to be paying less for homes going forward. And people probably aren't building new homes. A lot of money lost.
If you had to approximate, what inning do you think the U.S. is in right now? What inning of this crisis?
Second inning.
I was going to say top of the third, maybe bottom of the third.
Second inning. So I don't want to start buying stocks until I'm in the 6th or the 7th. So I think you're early. And you might not be. We could turn around. Vaccine changes everything. Vaccine is like boom. That's the home run we needed, but we're waiting for it. So we need more word, and we need it sooner. And we need to, I'm going to say it again, we need to put on a full quarantine, whatever methods. It worked in China. I mean, we're not going to go to those extreme measures, but, they're coming out of this. And they're going to take less damage for it, too, because they used draconian measures. So obviously extreme measures, which we're not going to take here. But we need to seriously think about, and I talked, San Francisco's under, quarantine restrictions there now, too, only leaving house for essentials. I mean, that's where we need to go. I believe that's where we need to go.
I should mention that yesterday I was also looking at some cyber names. I looked at Hack. I looked at the components of Hack, Palo Alto, CyberArk.
Those are companies I would love to own too. And those are companies that are cheap too. So get your shopping list ready. Have it ready. I'll put CyberArk on my shopping list. I'm not buying it today, but I'll add it there now. So I just added CyberArk, because that's a company I've wanted for a long time. It's a good company. It's still a real problem. It's going to be a real problem going forward. You got to go look at the balance sheets though again. So, you don't want something that's got just a ton of debt, because if credit starts to get tight, that could, really, impact some companies. So you got to think that way right now. Am I buying General Motors and Ford? These companies were in trouble before this thing started. I absolutely do not want to buy stocks that were in trouble before this thing started, because this is now maybe like the last straw for some of these companies. Like, they're going to have problems. Who's going out and buying a car right now? So there's a major issues there.
Ford got under $5 yesterday. Holy moly!
We could be end up going back to $1 like we were in the financial crisis. It's where it got to. It could do it. I'm not saying it's going to, but it could. I don't want to own Ford. Not
Yeah,
GM either. I don't want to own any of the automakers. I don't want to own Tesla either. I mean, I like Tesla. I've always wanted to own Tesla. It's a significant pullback, but they got a lot of debt. Credit starts getting, the credit market starts to seize up a little bit. Could be issues there. So you got to wait. I think you're early. Like you're saying, Spencer, you're in top of the third, bottom of the second. We're through the first inning, but I don't think we're in like the seventh or the eighth. I don't think we are.
Hey, Dennis,
So
Dennis, you know what? Someone just called you in the chat, and I never knew what the term was. A Dutch uncle. Do you know what that means?
Sounds bad.
Oh, God. I don't want to know what that means.
It's an informal term for a person who uses frank, harsh, or severe comments and criticism to educate, encourage, or admonish someone. So that's
is that a compliment? I hope it's a compliment.
I guess that's a compliment.
I'm taking some bad heat. So people are getting nasty to me. I got a nasty email yesterday.
Yeah.
Another one?
Yeah, I get a nasty email saying hunt me down. People are like mad at me. I'm just being a realist here. So I'm trying, I think I've saved a lot of people some money. I hope I have, because I've been kind of, talking about this thing for 2 months. So I hope I've saved some people some money, because I've taken some heat for it. The people are angry at me. For real.
It's an emotional time.
It is. And I understand that, and the haters, are going to hate, and that's fine. It's okay. I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep over because he called me some nasty names. And I've gotten some nasty.
Here. You know what? I think Dane summed this up in the YouTube chat. Dennis, this is all your fault.
This is all my fault.
No, nobody was afraid until you made us afraid. This entire thing is your fault.
I was afraid because I saw what was happening in China. I was like, well, that could happen here. That was only all it was.
Yeah,
and
that's all it was.
We're a month into this thing.
But anyways, I'm trying to just be realistic. I'm trying to save people money. We're a money show. I give my opinions. I've saved myself some money by selling some stocks. I'm still losing money too. I'm still losing money. I got 30% of my money in my stocks in my retirement account. I watched them fall 10%. I lost 10% of my net worth, and I called this thing. Really, when you think about it, if you're 30% cash, the markets fall 30%. Well, you're down 9%. So, if I was 100% cash, I'd be down 30. So I didn't lose as much, but it still hurts. I had a hedge going for a while, which helped me too, but I pulled the hedge way too early. FIFO problems again there, Alex, if you're listening. I pulled the hedge when we were 275 SPY, we're 235 SPY. I felt like, now was the time to not, to lift the hedge and have some exposure. Because I was like interested in, starting to look at, some of these stocks look tasty. Well, before I start buying stocks, I'm going to stop being short. So now, I'm sitting here and I'm regretting that move. And I'm looking at Fari saying Dow 14,000. I was like, where's my hedge?
Yeah, RD just says, Dennis, you're like EF Hunting. I don't know if people remember when that the old commercials they used to have when EF Hunting speaks, and then like everyone stops on the street and they put their ear up. Yeah.
There's been lots of people who called this. I wasn't the only one who, called this. Fari apparently called it as well. So I mean, it wasn't like a bold call. It was just I was just looking at what was happening, and then that's
I remember how upset you were. You were like this, and actually, I'll pull up the chart of the SPY. There was that nice little bull trap there.
I was 3 weeks early.
You were early, and you were like,
I had my whole first set of puts expire worthless.
I can't believe how wrong I am, because I can't believe this
didn't make sense.
Here, that nice here. We kind of had a little dip there, January 23rd, January 24th, like that week there. Then we went back up to new highs. We went back up to new highs. For the next 3 weeks.
I couldn't understand what was happening. I'm like, do they not see what's going on? I couldn't understand it. And then I rolled over and I went out to June. I was like, screw these. We went out 3 weeks. Me and Joel both. We both went out like a month because we thought this thing was going to come to roost within a month. And we went out a month with our hedge, with our puts. So I had puts on LUV. I had puts, we had puts on the SPY. You had puts on the LUV too. They all expired. Like, some of the SPY was bailed on some of my puts. But my LUV puts expired worthless. I was too early. So then I got angry. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be too early. I'm not going to, I'm going to go out far enough that I'm pretty confident that I'm far enough. So I went out to June. And then that was the best thing I could do, because obviously I had lots of time and I would still have those. But
all right, you want to set up we're coming up on the 9 o'clock hour here. Do you want to set up any trading scenarios here or non-trading scenarios?
We're taking out the lows.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Boeing as a leader here on the downside right now. It just kissed 100. There's probably some size in the book at 100. So I wouldn't be surprised that holds in the pre-market. I would expect that to eventually fall. Maybe Boeing can hold 100. 100's a huge level for it. But again, you can't worry about technicals. You can't worry about big levels here. It's now about fundamentals with this company. And can this company survive without being nationalized? That is the question. If you believe the answer is yes, it's probably a steal at 101. If you believe the answer is no, it's probably got next to no value. They're going to dilute the hell out of the shareholders if they have to nationalize it. So if you think that Boeing cannot survive on its own, which is Boeing is kind of saying that, it's hard to be a buyer at 101. It can go down a lot lower. Believe me, it can. Is it going to zero? Probably not. The shareholders probably get something salvaged at the end of this. If they do nationalize it, Citigroup didn't go to zero. You know, when they came in, Fannie and Freddie still had some value. But you start looking and you think, wow, you know, this is ground zero here. It's making planes. Planes might not even be flying. They have problems with the MAX. Hard to come in here and be a buyer, even though it looks ridiculously cheap right now. Again, if vaccine comes out tomorrow, we start going about our business, Boeing will turn it around. That's the only out I see for Boeing, because I think if we stay like this for the next few months, I think Boeing's going to need government help, and that's going to be at a much lower price.
Right. And for me, I'll just, final comment. We're due to open through that former double bottom at 2350. Had big, was much defended over the last two sessions. So how low we go and attempt a rally, to me, if we could close above 2350, I will consider that a positive for the market. And it's down 92 handles. That would be over 103 handles, folks. Also remember, there's going to be some wicked rallies today. So, if you're just going to short the world, just be, have your stop, have your exits, and get executions, because we saw yesterday, vicious rallies. That's what happens in this kind of market. So, just be careful. Be careful on both sides of the market. Reduce size a little bit, and we'll be back. Hopefully, we'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Spencer, you want to wrap things up?
I think so. And
even if the market's closed, we've all had a conversation. Even if the market's closed, we're going to keep the show going. We won't be talking about stocks as much, but we'll talk about stuff. We'll talk about,
the show. The show
we're
will
going to keep
be
the show going as long
the
as
show must go on.
I think the show will be tic-tac-toe, but we
will
have
find
a
stuff
show.
to talk
we will
about.
Have a show.
But Dennis will. We got Dennis. I mean,
we'll
what the hell else do we need?
All right. I want to thank our guest today, Fari Homsi. Thanks to everyone in our chats, both of them, the one on YouTube and the one on premarket.benzinga.com. You can always catch the podcast of our show or the replay on the YouTube. Please remember, all the information from our show are meant to be used as informational purposes only, not for investing or trading advice. As we've been doing this week, Joel and I will be on at the close from 3:40 to 4 o'clock, talking through, provided we're open here. I'm not sure the markets will be limited down or what, but if markets open, we'll be on at the close to talk us through that. And until then, everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back with you, if not at the close, then tomorrow morning.